Hello everyone. I, Ms. Bhavna Danesh Munod, welcome you all in Agricultural Development Trust, Shardabai Pawar, Mahila Arts, Commerce and Science College, Sharda Nagar, Baramati. Good day, dear students. Last period we were studying about perfect and imperfect competition. Perfect we saw where all favorable conditions will be there, and imperfect competition we saw that you will have unfavorable conditions as well as products will be different. There will be no homogeneous product in imperfect competition. Now come to the main point. Now each we will study. Now first we will go step by step for perfect competition. Now see, in perfect competition this concept was introduced by Professor John Robinson and Professor Edward Chamberlain. Both of these authors, both of these economists have introduced this concept, that is perfect competition. Who? Professor John Robinson and Professor Edward Chamberlain. Now, according to Mrs. John Robinson, she tells or she defines perfect competition over here, children, that perfect competition prevails when demand for the output of each producer is perfectly elastic. Perfectly what? Elastic. We have studied perfectly elastic. So, what she has told, that perfect competition prevails when demand for the output of each producer should have perfectly elastic demand in mind. Perfectly elastic. We have studied types of elasticity of demand, where perfectly elastic demand was there, imperfectly elastic demand was there, relatively elastic demand was there, unitary elastic demand was there. So what perfectly elastic demand tells us? That infinite number of changes in demand. So in a marketplace we cannot say, we cannot predict also how the demand changes, how people's taste, habits, customer changes. He can change. So here they have told, if a market or if a perfect competition is there, demand for the output of each producer will be perfectly elastic. Then there are main three things more they have told about perfect competition, that a perfect competition market is a market in which economic forces operate uninterrupted, and there are three conditions in a perfect competition, that both the buyers and sellers are price takers, they are not price maker, they are price taker. Then in perfect competition we don't have barriers. There are no barriers in entry, no barriers, no restrictions in perfect competition. Anyone can enter in the market. And the third one they have told, that each product regarding perfect competition will be identical. Then we will see one by one, that is what are the features of perfect competition. One by one we will go through this. So the first feature, children, over here regarding perfect competition is there are large number of buyers and sellers. See, under perfect competition. So under perfect competition there are large number of buyers and sellers, as mentioned earlier. Each seller forms negligible part in the total market. Hence none of them is in a position to influence the price and supply in the market. Thus sellers are price takers, and under perfect competition the number of buyers is also large. So the share of each buyer is so negligible that none of them is in a position to influence the price in the market. Now see, the first concept over here is what? Large number of buyers and sellers, children, under perfect competition. So when large number of buyers and sellers are there in the market, then over here price and supply doesn't have any position, it doesn't have any influence. See, price changes, but there are many customers. Now simple example, if I tell you, a market is there where there are large number of sellers. Now suppose I go to a shop, say in a market I go to a shop, I liked a particular product, say I liked one pencil over there, but that pencil the shopkeeper was telling me for 20 rupees. Then I went to another shop, he told 15 rupees. I went to the third shop, he told me 5 rupees. So where I will get at less price, I will take the product. So I took the pencil from the third shop. Why? Because he was selling for 5 rupees. So here what happens then? Regarding supply and price, for large number of buyers and sellers will not be affected, children. Not be affected, because I know when I go to a market, there are many shops which will adjust with my price, which will be adjusting with my budget. Whose budget? Customer's budget. So that price and supply will not make an influence in the first point, that is large number of buyers and sellers for perfect competition. Then the second point related to it is homogeneous product. Now homogeneous product means what, children? Same in color, size and shape. Same thing, everything same. So homogeneous product over here in perfect competition, they have told the product sold is homogeneous or identical in respect of size, design, color, taste, and all products are perfect substitutes to each other. Means for children, simple example, if I tell you, say Hammam and Neem soap, take both these soaps. What is the difference? You can see, no, they are perfect substitute of each other. See, Hammam is green color, same size, only the packet name is different over here, a little bit identical. And Neem, same color, same size. So somewhere the products are same in size, color and shape, but due to different name, they can be identical. So this happens in perfect competition, that is homogeneous product. So one important feature of perfect competition market is what? Product sold is homogeneous or identical in respect of size, design, color, taste, etc. So they are perfect substitutes to each other. Then the third one is free entry and exit. Now see over here, there are no barriers to the entry and exit of firms. Any firm can enter or quit the industry at its own will. So if there is a hope of profit, the firm will enter the market, and if there is possibility of loss of the firm, they will leave the market. So the third point over here regarding features of perfect competition is what? Free entry and exit. There are no barriers. So no barriers to the entry and exit of the firms. Any firm can enter or quit the industry at its own will. So no barriers means what? No restrictions to enter in the market of perfect competition. Anyone can enter the market, anyone can sell the product, children. If they think it is a profit, they will continue. If they think it is a loss, they can leave the market also. So free entry and exit, the third feature of perfect competition. Now come to the fourth point, single price. Now what over here single price means? See, a single uniform price prevails under perfect competition, which is determined by the interaction of demand and supply. Now for perfect competition, there will be a single price only depending upon demand and supply, children. So uniform price. Now suppose say 10 rupees the pencil I am selling, in my shop for 10 rupees only I will sell the product. That is single price depending upon demand and supply. Then the fifth feature is perfect knowledge of market. See, for perfect competition, they have told perfect knowledge of market should be there. So the buyers and sellers possess a perfect knowledge about the market conditions. Every seller and buyer has the knowledge about price, quality, source of supply of products, etc. So whoever is coming in the market, children, whoever, the buyer or seller, they should have perfect knowledge about the market. How your commodity will be sold at higher price, how you will gain profit. So this knowledge at least should be updated. So perfect knowledge of market, that is the buyers and sellers possess a perfect knowledge about the market conditions. Every seller and buyer has the knowledge about price, quality, source of supply of products and etc. Then sixth one, perfect mobility of factors of production. Now what is this telling us? That there is perfect mobility of factors of production under perfect competition. Labor and capital are mobile. Mobile means we can move from one place to another, not only geographically but also occupationally. So what they have told now, how mobile we can carry from one place to another, that is mobile factor. Means here they have told under perfect competition, labor and money. Capital means what? Money. They can be transferred from one place to another. Located means what? Shifted, can be geographically shifted from one. See, even labor, if they are getting salaried in another company more, so they will shift the job. Say so for example in Pune I will get 20,000 rupees, and in Baramati if I get 35,000, what I will do? I will skip my job to Baramati. So that is related to what? Mobile factors of production. means favorable things are there. So when favorable things are there under perfect competition, not only geographically but occupationally, perfect mobility of factors of production will be there. Then the sixth point we studied, that is perfect mobility of factors of production under perfect competition, children. The next one is absence of transport cost. See, under perfect competition, price is uniform, means same, and because we assume that transport cost doesn't exist over here, this assumption will lead to uniformity in price. Now see, when transport cost will increase, children, price will increase of that particular commodity. But here what we assumed in perfect competition, that transportation cost is not there. No transportation cost. So the prices of the product are same, uniform everywhere. And the transport does not exist over here. And this assumption will tell us regarding uniformity in price. Then the eighth one is no government intervention over here. No government. Now what government telling over here? No government interference. Where? Under perfect competition. So laissez-faire policy, children. You remember we have studied in micro and macroeconomics chapter. Laissez-faire policy means other things remaining constant. The one statement laissez-faire policy told. So laissez-faire policy, children, here over here is an important part. See, the laissez-faire policy over here they have told is an important feature of perfect competition. It means there is absence of government interference in economic activities. Other things constant means what? According to the laissez-faire policy, government interference is less over here, children. So no government interference over here, children, regarding what? Perfect competition. So we'll see the diagram. According to the diagram, we'll have this revision again regarding features of perfect competition. So one by one go. First point, what they have told, large number of buyers and sellers will be there. The first point under perfect competition. Then homogeneous product will be the same, free entry and exit. Then the buyer and seller should have perfect knowledge about prices and technology, children. There should be no transport cost and no artificial restrictions, means government restrictions will be less. So this all points we studied in features of competition. Next point we will study, children. After features, what they have told. See, after features, the next point comes, that is price determination. How price is determined under perfect competition. So the first one, children, over here, price determined under perfect competition is total demand. Now see, the total demand means what? The amount which people are willing to buy at various prices. When we can see demand, people are willing to buy that particular commodity at whatever price the customer, this one, shopkeeper is selling. That is called as total demand. So what we are studying our next point now, how price is determined under perfect competition. Price for whom? Commodity, product. So how that price of a product is determined under perfect competition, children, we will see. So first one is what? Total demand. Now under that total demand is what? The amount which people are willing to buy at various prices is called as total demand. Then total supply. What is total supply? The amount which the producers are willing to put on the market at various prices. See, the amount which the producers are willing to put in the market at various prices is called as total supply. Now simple way I will tell you about total demand and total supply means what, children. Now see, I am a customer, I am going in a market. Now if I am going in a market, what happens? According to my convenience, I am a customer. So total demand and total supply we are studying. I need that product at any cost. I have liked the quality of the product. So at any cost, if the shopkeeper is selling, I will take the product. That means demand of the product has been increased. Total demand. Now what is total supply? Now I have having a factory. I am a producer. I am expecting that this much price I will sell my commodity in the market, then only I will supply the goods. That is called as total supply, children. Then the concept of perfect competition, they was told that this concept was first introduced by Professor Adam Smith in his book Wealth of Nations. and later on then it was improved by Edgeworth. However, they have told it receives the connection formation in Franklin's book Risk, Uncertainty and Profit. Just for extra knowledge, see this concept we already studied by Mrs. John Robinson. They have given definition of perfect competition, children. But the main thing, this concept was first introduced by Professor Adam Smith in his book Wealth of Nations. They have told. Then another thing, Edgeworth and Professor Knight, Frank Knight's book, depending on risk, uncertainty and profit, in the year 1921, children, this was introduced, perfect competition. Now, perfect competition is what, children? We will repeat again this point, that perfect competition is a market in which there are many firms selling identical products which no firm large enough relative to the entire profit, and it will be able to influence the market price. And according to Billas, say the perfect competition is characterized by the presence of many firms. So they are identical, same product, and the seller is a price taker. Keep in mind, here in perfect competition, seller is a price taker, as well as there are no barriers in entry, and all the products will be homogeneous, same in size, color and shape. These three things you have to remember, children. Now see your table, you can see, we'll study this table in your textbook 5.1. They have given that this is explained with the help of the following schedule and diagram. Table number 5.1 regarding demand and supply schedule. So we'll study, children, one by one what this table tells us. Now see, they have told regarding apples, kg of apples, kilogram of apples in rupees. The 100 apples were there, demand was 5,000, children. See, 100 apples were there, demand was 5,000, and how much supplied? 1,000. That means then relationship between demand and supply is demand is greater than supply. Then 200 rupees the apple were demanded in market 4,000, but supplied apples were how much? 2,000. So here again demand is greater than supply. 300 the price became. Then how much production of apples were this thing distributed in market? 3,000. Then the supply was 3,000. So when for 300 both demand was 3,000, supply was 3,000, then the relation of demand and supply shows over here equal to sign, children, that is DD is equal to SS. Then come next, for 400 rupees demand is 2,000, supply is 4,000, that means demand is greater than supply. And for 500 rupees demand in kg is 1,000, supply is 5,000, then demand is less than supply. If you can see the table. So here what we are studying, relationship of demand and supply when price changes, children. So from this table what we studied, that for rupees 100 when the price was, demand was greater than supply, means 5,000 quantity was demanded but supply was less, 1,000. Then as soon as the price increased by 100 rupees, there is a difference. That means at rupees 500, children, the quantity demanded was less, 1,000, and the supply was how much? 5,000. Then here the demand relation means demand is less than supply when price increases. So same thing they have explained from table number 5.1. As I told you, orally we'll see what they have told. See, when price rises from 100 to rupees through 100, quantity demanded falls from 5,000 kgs and to 4,000 kgs, where supply increases from 1,000 to 2,000 kgs. This is because demand falls with rise in price and supply rises with a rise in price, and this is the stage where demand is greater than supply. And when price rises to rupees 300, quantity demanded and quantity supplied become equal, that is 3,000 kgs. So this is the stage of equilibrium where demand and supply become equal. Hence rupees 300 became the equilibrium price. Then when price further rises from rupees 400 to rupees 500, demand falls. So from 2,000 kgs to 1,000 kgs and rises from 4,000 kgs to 5,000 kgs, supply is greater than demand. So S is greater than demand. So thus the process of price determination is explained in the following figure. So in this diagram, x-axis represents quantity demanded and quantity supplied, whereas y-axis represents the price. So demand curve is the downward sloping demand curve which shows inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. SS is the upward sloping supply curve which shows direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. Now we'll see, according to the graph, we will see the explanation of this, children. See, we'll see over here. Now see, can you see the diagram over here, children? Okay. Now we can see over here, see on x-axis quantity demanded and supply is plotted and y-axis price is there. So quantity demanded over here, see from 100 to 500, and price they have mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what we can see over here, see we have studied in table also, when price was rupees 300, the demand and supply was equal. So see children, over here you can see regarding equilibrium point E. So when demand and supply coincides with each other, at that point, at that they meet each other, that point is called as point of equilibrium, children. Same, at rupees 300, demand was 3000, supply was 3000, that means point of equilibrium is there. And you can see the SS curve, C is moving in upward direction. As the price increases, supply also increases, and the demand curve, children, you can see moving in downward direction, because as the price increases, demand has been decreased. So this is the relationship of perfect competition, children, between price depending upon demand and supply, what we studied now. That demand and supply schedule we studied. So from this diagram we will see over here that figure 5.2 tells us x-axis represents quantity demanded and quantity supplied, y-axis represents the price. Then we have also seen that DD is downward sloping demand curve which is showing inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded, and SS is the upward sloping curve which is showing direct relationship between price and quantity supplied. So E is the equilibrium point where DD and SS curve intersects with each other. So accordingly, rupees 300 is the equilibrium price and 3000 kgs is the equilibrium quantity demanded and supplied. So this equilibrium price is demanded by market demand and market supply. Remaining point we'll study in the next chapter, children. Till then, bye and thank you.